Hello and welcome back to Mariners Rundown. My name is Jake, and this is the show gives you, the fan, all you need to know about the Seattle Mariners. And it has been a pretty good day today. Not kind of an up and down week. It was only down for one day, and we'll talk about that. However, things are going okay in Mariners land. They're winning games, but we've also gotten some bad news recently about some player health. And it's been a very weird start to the season. Started off very flat. Now we're where we're at now, which we will get into. But my name is Jake from Race to Trident. Thanks for stopping by. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple, thanks so much. Follow the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps me out a lot. And if you're on YouTube, you could subscribe today to the channel and leave a like. Those are free as well, and I would appreciate it immensely. If you're listening to this in the morning when I'm releasing this and you are on your way to work, wake up! Don't crash! And if you're listening to this in the afternoon, sorry about your ears just now. But we have a few things that we need to go over that are really important. And if you have not been paying too much attention to the Mariners recently, some of these things might be a surprise. But as I'm recording this right now and going into today, Monday, April 28th is when this is releasing. I'm obviously recording this on April 27th. The Mariners are currently 16-12. Yes, 4 games above 500, and they are 1 game ahead of the Texas Rangers. Yes, we would have been, I believe, only a half game back or tied with them. However, the Texas Rangers got walked off by the Giants yesterday in a really incredible fashion. Threw the ball around and let a Little League home run to, I believe it was Heliot Ramos. That was fun to have that be the reason why you are now in second place in the division instead of first. However, the Mariners have been playing some really good ball recently, outside of obviously a couple games. I mean, you can't play well in every single game, but in general, they've been playing great. We just got done with a really long 9-game road trip, going to Cincinnati to take on the Reds, then Toronto against the Blue Jays, and finish it out in Boston against the Red Sox. And the Mariners managed to take 2 of 3 in every single series. So yeah, they went 6-3 on a road trip, which in my opinion is a huge success. If they can play better on the road, that will be really helpful, because right now they're playing okay at home too, for the most part, especially recently against the Marlins. We just got done with that series today. We end up winning that series. We end up in the last 4 series, we've lost the first game, then won the last 2. So, I mean, hey, I don't really like the idea of having every series come down to game 3 in a rubber match, but I'll take series wins. However, I get them, and that marks 6 straight series wins for your Seattle Mariners, which has led them to a 16-12 record. Some really good stuff on the road trip. Specifically, we'll go over that really quick. Cincinnati, kind of, not really a whole lot to, note in Cincinnati. I honestly don't remember a whole lot of what happened. We thankfully missed Hunter Green, who has been on an absolute heater to start the year and is potentially going to be an NL Cy Young candidate. And yeah, we took care of business, 1, 2 out of 3. I will take it. I know, maybe wouldn't say the Reds are one of those teams where like you should sweep, and there's not really a whole lot of teams in baseball that are must sweep type teams. I would have said the Marlins maybe later in the year. However, their offense specifically has gotten off to an okay start this year, especially in the batting average department. So I wasn't really expecting that from the Marlins. I would say, I guess the Rockies are kind of the only team that is kind of like a must-sweep team at this point. We will face them at some point this year in a 3-game set, I believe, at home. So looking forward to that. I don't know when that is, but the Marlins aren't really that must-sweep team, and hey, we took the series. That's what you need to do, especially against the teams like the Marlins. And the Marlins, ironically enough, were one of the teams that we lost a series against last year. That was just one of those, like, how are you losing a series against this team? That's how you lose out on the playoffs by 1 game, are losing those series that you really shouldn't. The Marlins are one of those series you should not lose that series, and this time we did. We did win the series, so I'll take that. But looking at like the Toronto series, for example, Rowdy Tellez, if you didn't know, had a huge revenge series, had a home run in all 3 games, 7 home runs. I said 7 home runs. He didn't hit 7 home runs. He drove in 7 RBIs. I wrote my script wrong. I wrote 7 home runs. He did not hit 7 home runs in Toronto. That would be ridiculous. No, he drove in 7 RBIs in with those 3 home runs in all 3 games. The most weighted one or the most important one was in game 2 in the 12th inning, hitting a huge grand slam to just blow the game open so we could win that in extras in Toronto. And then we moved on to Boston, and we won our first series in Boston since 2014. It's taken us 10 years, a whole decade, or a little over a decade, I guess, 11 years, to win our first series in Boston. And boy, was it an interesting one. We end up losing game 1, obviously, as we've lost game 1 in the last at least 4 series. But we ended up winning game 2, especially thanks to a really great start from Emerson Hancock, of all people. Didn't expect that, but he pitched really well for what you would expect for him. He gave you a chance to win, which is really what we're looking for from guys like Emerson Hancock and now Logan Evans, which we'll get into in a second. But really cool to see Hancock, especially in a hitter-friendly ballpark like Fenway, to have an effective outing against the Boston Red Sox, who are not a bad offensive team by any means. So it was really cool to see that. Brian Wu had a great start in Boston as well, and he was lights out there. One of the best starts of his career, I think. I don't remember the line exactly, but it was great. And going on the offensive side of things, when we're talking about whole road trips, Ben Williamson had a great road trip. He's had a really good start to the year thus far, just in general. He got called up for the last game, I believe against Texas, before we left for the road trip. He did not play in that game, so his first game was in Cincinnati in game 1. And for the road trip, he played in all 9 games. He got 10 hits and 36 plate appearances, got 3 ribbies, and hit for a 138 WRC plus for that road trip, and got 1 home run. He got his first home run, so congratulations, Ben Williamson. He's been having some really impressive at-bats to start his major league career. It's been really awesome to see him be, even when he doesn't get a hit, being patient, or he's getting contact on the ball. And it's really been cool to see him come through in a lot of situations so far. And then JP Crawford. I mean, this road trip kind of like sparked a fire under him. It felt like he only played in 8 games, so he missed one of the games, but he hit for a 400 batting average and 34 plate appearances on that road trip for a 205 WRC plus, and hit his first home run of the year in, I believe it was game 3 against Boston or game 2. I think it was game 2 against Boston. So it was nice to see him get a little bit of power back and start hitting the ball and getting balls to land in the grass. That was really cool to see from JP. He's starting to look a bit more like his 2023 self. Now, I'm not going to say that he, for sure is having another 2023 year. Would love it if he was, but you can't say that this early. I think, once we get into June, if he's still producing pretty well, then maybe we can have that conversation and see how that's going. But really cool to see JP Crawford back in a good way. But after that road trip, or at least we came back overnight to have a 3-game set against the Miami Marlins, who, like I said earlier, not really a slouch team by any means. You had 2 of the 3 pitching matchups heavily in your favor, with Cal Quantrill on the mound in game 1. I believe coming in as the game, he had an 8+ ERA. You had Gillespie for game 2 with the Marlins. He had about a 6-something ERA. And yeah, you were just thinking, this seems like an easy win or easy series win, and potentially a sweep with Miller on the mound for game 3. Maybe he would figure something out and have a really good start for us. And game 1, man, was not good at all. Unfortunately, Logan Gilbert was on the mound to start the game. And, you think Logan Gilbert against a guy like Cal Quantrill seems like a pretty open and shut, easy dub, pretty much, unless like the bullpen was absolutely terrible or the offense just had the stinker of all stinkers. And Logan Gilbert was looking really good for the through the first 3 innings, he was perfect. He didn't allow a single base runner. And you're thinking, wow, he is cruising. I think he's only at 30 something pitches. He was being really effective and efficient. And then all of a sudden, the fourth comes along, the top of the fourth, and Logan Gilbert's not on the mound. It's Casey Lawrence now. And you're like, what's going on? And there was a noticeable kind of tick down in velocity. It was about a 1 mile an hour difference on all of his pitches, 1 mile an hour slower on all of his pitches velocity wise. And, you're kind of like, well, who knows what that is? It could just be kind of a chillier night in Seattle, maybe just not so amped up because, it's the Marlins. It's not like he's facing the Yankees or facing some huge juggernaut offensive team like the Dodgers or something crazy. I don't know. But then the guys at Mariner Mojo, bless their souls, friends for the channel, did kind of mention that on his very first strikeout of the night in the first inning, I believe it was on a splitter, he kind of winced a little bit after he threw that pitch. And yeah, you're kind of like, okay, velocity's down a little bit. Seems like he's like maybe in a little bit of discomfort. He wasn't flexing his arm at all. He wasn't touching his arm. So you really didn't know what the problem was. For all I know, it could have been a hamstring thing. Who knows? But then, he exits the game before the top of the fourth. And you're like, what the heck is going on? And I'm thinking the worst. And then the Mariners finally kind of release what they're labeling it as for him to leave. And they said right forearm tightness. And immediately I'm like, shit, the season's over. Okay. And can you, honestly, I understand that that's a very pessimistic, very quick to give a negative, I guess, conclusion to something. I get that. But with the state of pitcher health in the MLB right now, where it feels like every week you're seeing another pitcher go down to Tommy John, can you really blame me for immediately being like, dude is going to need TJ. He's going to be out until at least All-Star break next year. We are screwed. So very anxiously awaited until the next morning for any sign of news for Logan Gilbert. It was clear that he was going to be doing an MRI to see what the issue was. And we did get a diagnosis the morning of game 2 against the Marlins for right elbow flexor strain. It's a grade 1 strain, so it's mild. It's listed as mild. And the course of action for him right now is he's not going to throw for 2 weeks, and they're going to re-examine him after that and look into the next steps for him. And although there's kind of a best and worst case scenario for this. The best case scenario is that he takes the 2 weeks off from throwing and his re-examination goes well, and then he just kind of has to ramp up again, and then maybe he's fine. And we go without Logan Gilbert for probably a little over a month. He saw probably do a couple rehab starts, that type of thing, after those 2 weeks. So best case scenario, we're probably out of Gilbert until June, early June. And, that sucks. It really sucks to not have Logan Gilbert. He is still the ace of your staff. I truly believe it, even though, Brian Woo's numbers have probably been a little bit better on certain things. Logan Gilbert's still the ace of the staff. Easy peasy. Really easy to label him that. And it sucks. And you're like, you don't really have the depth because, you're already slotting in Emerson Hancock for George Kirby's absence. So it's like, oh gosh, well, what are they going to do with that? And there's also the worst case scenario, because the best case is a little over a month. The worst case scenario is that this could still turn into a Tommy John type scenario for all we know. They would have noticed a tear in the UCL, but this could end up being a Robbie Ray type thing. And it was pointed out by Jeremy Crom on Twitter, as well as Jage. I think Jeremy Crom said it, and Jage also was posting about it too, that in 2023, when we lost Robbie Ray, within 3 innings of the opening day, it was labeled the same thing, a grade 1 right elbow, or I guess in Robbie Ray's situation, a left elbow flexor strain. And that did end up becoming Tommy John. So it's still very much on the table. And I think that's what it's like. These next 2 weeks are going to be brutal to go through, because we're not going to, it's going to be a couple of weeks before we know anything more about what's going on with Gilbert and when we can expect him back. And if it's a really prolonged absence, man, not going to be the guy who says the season's over, because the overall, I guess, I'm a really optimistic guy. The silver lining here is that you already had a rotation of 5 really freaking good pitchers, starting pitchers. Your rotation was already probably the most elite for the most part when we're looking at the entire MLB. You have Logan Gilbert at the start. You have George Kirby, Luis Castillo, although, mileage is showing, and he's going to probably be maybe your number 5 by the end of the year. I think arguably he already kind of is. You have Bryce Miller and Brian Wu, and you're like, you have 5 really good pitchers. So if you lose one, it sucks, especially with the Mariners. They don't have the best, depth at that position. But if you miss 2, I mean, that's pretty rough. Now, Kirby will be coming back at some point. Who knows when that's going to happen? It's felt like it's taking forever for that to progress, for him to come back. But Logan Gilbert's obviously a huge loss for this Mariners team. But coming in his absence, and you kind of saw it coming from a mile away. It felt like if you're in the know on the team and what's going on, there's really only one guy out after Emerson Hancock that you could turn to, and that was Logan Evans. Logan Evans, if you don't know, we drafted in the 2023 amateur draft. We picked him 367th overall in the 12th round, and he was not good in college. And I think Logan Evans was kind of like the Brian Wu situation, where Brian Wu did not have a good college career by any means, but the Mariners saw on tape his delivery, they saw his stuff, they saw his arsenal, and were like, we can work with this, and I think we can mold him into a really good pitcher. And look at Brian Wu now. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the American League probably right now. And the same exact thing happened to Logan Evans. Not really good in college. They saw something they liked with him, especially his overall stuff, and they've turned him into a pretty decent pitcher, especially at the professional level. So to go over that a little bit with what you can expect from Logan Evans when you're watching him, he made his debut earlier today when I'm recording this, so yesterday when you're listening to this, and we're going to go over that a little bit in a second. But his arsenal is mainly a sweeper, which a lot of people regard as his best pitch, and a pretty good pitch at that. He, at least in the minors, was pitching that about 45.6% of the time. His sinker was after that at about 27.2%. He had a cutter around 20%, and then kind of rarely he would throw a 4-seam and a changeup as well. He is not a velocity guy. He is kind of hovering between 93, 94 miles an hour on his sinker and 4-seam, and then he's in the mid to high 80s for his breaking balls. And in Tacoma, he's had a good year thus far going into today's debut. 25.2 innings pitched, 3.86 ERA, 1.25 whip, 2.18 FIP, 23 strikeouts, and only 4 walks. So yeah, like I said, he had his debut today, and it went pretty well. Congratulations to Logan Evans, first of all. Making your major league debut is a big deal, and I could tell from some of the interviews yesterday when he joined the team, the move for him officially didn't happen until this morning, but he joined the team yesterday for their win against the Marlins, and he seemed to be really enjoying the fact that he was up and kind of marveling at the fact he was in the major league level. And he goes against a Marlins team who's not a bad offensive team, and they especially have a huge weapon in Agustin Ramirez, who is their catcher right now. They just called him up recently. And but Evans had a solid outing. He went 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, so not a whole lot of whiff for him at all, and 3 walks. So his command was not great, or his control was not great. However, he still got through 5 innings, only gave up a couple earned runs. Good major league debut, in my opinion. Now, is he going to be the next Brian Wu? Probably not, at least not now, but he is also only 23. So he has time to work on his arsenal, work on a bit of his control as well. I don't think he would become a Brian Wu type guy, but he could be a pretty, I would say, reliable back end of the rotation kind of guy in the future. I don't know when George Kirby is eventually activated, if they would send Hancock down over Evans. I think right now both Hancock and Evans have places in the rotation with now Gilbert out too. They have 2 slots they need to open up. I think they're the options right now going forward. So it's really just going to depend on how they both do. And yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of how that little storyline shapes up for the next month or so. Emerson Hancock versus Logan Evans, who's going to keep their seat when Kirby's back, and who knows about Gilbert, maybe when he's back as well. We'll see what that's shaping up as. So yeah, we had one Logan out and another Logan in, and Logan Evans, and congratulations once again to him for I would say a pretty decent debut. So going into the offensive and pitching updates that I always do here, it's really fun to kind of look at how things are shaping up in the league rankings week to week and see how they're fluctuating and whatnot. Starting with the offensive side in team standings, right now Jorge Polanco still leads the team in a lot of different things. Batting average, slugging, OPS. He has a 1.144 OPS right now. Jorge Polanco! Oh my gosh. And he leads the the team in RBIs. And Jorge Polanco, man, I mean, it's just insane watching him. And I made a tweet about it last night, or I guess, when you're listening to this 2 nights ago, that I thought it was just so interesting, the dichotomy between his 2024 season, 2025 season, a little bit under a year ago. Every time Jorge Polanco stepped into the batter's box at T-Mobile Park, he was getting booed because of how bad he was. And now it feels like he can't not hit the ball hard and out of the park. It's been a joy to watch him, and it's been awesome to see what he's done this year, and hopefully he can keep that going, not only for the whole year, but especially when he starts hitting righty again as well, and he can really be in the lineup every day, which will be nice. But also you gotta have to wonder, like, will he keep the same production up? I mean, granted, I don't think this production in general is necessarily sustainable, but still, man, he is having a phenomenal start to the year. Jorge Polanco, it's been one of the best storylines thus far this season. Otherwise, Leo Rivas right now leads the team in on-base percentage, but he's only had 23 at-bats, so if you were looking for a bit more of a qualified hitter, JP Crawford leads the team in on-base percentage at .412, which is great. I mean, awesome for JP. He probably should be maybe getting back into that leadoff spot maybe right now while he's getting on base at such an amazing clip. So really awesome to see him start to get that skill back after a pretty slow start to the year. And then, of course, when it comes to home runs right now, Cal Raleigh is leading the team. He hit his 10th home run today against the Marlins, and he currently leads, as of the time of recording this, he leads the entire American League in home runs right now at 10. Now we're going into the general league rankings when we're looking at the whole entire offensive team and how they rank in certain stats amongst the league. So right now in batting average, the Mariners rank 19th. So still pretty low, but it's getting better. It's improving, which is good to see. On base percentage, they are 4th in all of baseball. In on-base percentage, they're 6th in slugging, and they're 5th in OPS. The Mariners are 5th in OPS right now in all of baseball. That's, I mean, super sick. I think the on-base percentage does help that a lot, but still awesome to see them. God, this offense is really producing well right now, and it's really fun to watch. It is actually fun to watch the Mariners play baseball right now, and that's crazy. After last year, it felt like I wanted to die so many times watching this team. It's crazy. Right now in runs scored, they are 7th in total runs scored. They lead their division right now in runs scored. They lead the entire AL West by a pretty decent margin too. And runs and hits, they're 14th. Home runs, they're 3rd. So they've hit the 3rd most home runs in all of baseball. Love to see that. In stolen bases, they were 1st. I think the last time we checked in with this, they're now tied for 3rd with the Pirates for 35 stolen bases. Which is fine. I'll take it. In strikeouts, they're 6th most. So they're still striking out a decent amount, but it hasn't felt, it's not nearly as bad as last year. And because last year was so historically bad that the fact they're only 6th most strikeouts right now, it's really not bothering me. It doesn't feel like they're striking out a whole lot, and that's been really fun to see and really good to see as well. Moving on to the pitching and starting obviously with the starters right now in the team. I'm not going to count Logan Gilbert now that he's on the injured list. Yeah, but by the way, he's on the 15-day injured list right now. So we're only going to count people who are currently in the rotation. We're also not going to count Logan Evans because obviously he's only had one start. But right now, Brian Wu leads the rotation in ERA, WHIP, batting average against, and strikeouts. So Brian Wu, no really surprise there. Having a great start to the season thus far, and hopefully he can keep it going. And Luis Castillo now leads the staff in innings pitched when you take out Gilbert. So Gilbert does lead on most of these still, but I can't count him right now because he's not in the rotation really right now. And then when we're looking at the league standings for starting pitching, and when we're looking just at the rotation against all the other rotations in baseball, they're kind of just middle of the pack, a little bit above middle of the pack in some of these things. So in ERA, they're currently ranked 14th. In WHIP, they're ranked 15th. Batting average against, 11th. Strikeouts, 10th. And total innings tied for 17th. With the Brewers, which I guess kind of makes sense. I feel like we haven't really seen them go deep into games a whole lot. I think they're only at 6 or 7 quality starts right now. So that's been a little bit of an issue. But regardless, it's nice to see some of those numbers kind of creeping up towards the, kind of a little bit over 10 range. And I'll take that for now, especially with the injuries we have. Now, talking about the bullpen here, right now, I mean, really no surprise, but Andres Munoz leads the pen in ERA, still has a 0.00 ERA, he hasn't let an earned run up all year yet. Batting average against, he leads in that as well, and strikeouts. Gabe Spire leads the bullpen in WHIP, so he's been having a really good start to the year thus far. In Boston, he gave up his so far only earned run all season, and it was a pesky pole home run in Fenway Park, which if you don't know is the foul pole on the right-hand side of the field, or the first base side of the field at Fenway Park, is only like 270 feet. It's ridiculous. So it's kind of a Mickey Mouse home run. So I still think he has in my heart, Gabe Spire still has a 0.00 ERA. And then right now for innings, Edward Bizardo actually leads the bullpen in innings. He's 0.2 innings ahead of Andres Munoz. So there is that. And when we look at how our bullpen is shaping up against all the other bullpens right now in ERA, they're ranked 15th, so right in the middle of the pack. In WHIP, they are 21st, and batting average against, they're 26th. In strikeouts, they're 19th, and they've pitched the 4th most innings in all of baseball when it comes to bullpens. So it's kind of interesting. Their earned runs is middle of the pack, which is, I mean, kind of fine. Strikeouts, not great. They're not getting a whole lot of swing and miss like that we would want. And it's just, they're letting base runners, lots of walks, I think. And the other teams are hitting off our bullpen right now, pretty much, other than against Andres Munoz and Gabe Spire. Everyone else is letting up a little bit too many hits. So that goes, that's the end of my pitching and offense update as far as where they're looking at or where they're shaping up against the whole rest of the league. So for the next part, we are going to be interviewing Thomas Nestico of TJStats. If you go look him up on Twitter, you can also look up some of his articles as well. He's a really great analytical mind. He posts a lot of very in-depth analytical things on his both Twitter and Substack and Patreon as well, which can just help really just understand the game more, especially for a casual fan to take a look at some of his stuff. He's going to be going over a little bit about, when you're looking at his graphics, especially his pitching graphics, he makes after certain starts for pitchers, what everything means. And it really helps me a lot to get a little bit of that explanation. I think it'll help you as well. So really looking forward to you guys hearing this interview with Thomas Nestico. Let's get right into it. So today we are talking with Thomas Nestico, who currently sits at 37.2 thousand followers on X. He provides very insightful stats about the game we know and love. You can find him on X at TJStats, and you can read some of his articles on Substack. And he has a Patreon as well at TJStats that you can check out for deeper dives, as well as I believe you can go and access some of the tools yourself if you want to. So yeah, welcome Thomas to the pod, and how are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks for that warm welcome, Jake. I'm doing all right. Another Sunday, another week of baseball tomorrow, starting on a Monday. So it's always good during during baseball season.
Yeah, it's been nice to have games almost every day. They've been really leaning on those off days this first like couple months. So it's like been a little annoying. You have like a day off a few days ago and then now another day off tomorrow. And it's just like, I just want to watch baseball. But I mean, I get it. I get it. But I'm pretty confident that you're probably one of the more, probably the smartest person that's been on the channel thus far. You have a background in engineering, specifically, you have a master's in engineering from the University of Toronto. And I think that explains a lot on how you are able to compile all these really, all the stats and analytics into, I would say, pretty easily digestible ways for people, especially in like a visual sense. So, can you kind of go into like how engineering has, I guess, helped you have this passion project, I guess, if you want to call it that, with TJ Stats?
Yeah, I think ever since I was young, I've always been kind of intrigued by math and science. So I've always, again, just engineering just felt like the right avenue to go down.
Mhm.
But I always had the love for sports. Again, I wasn't the most athletic person, but again, I love watching them. I love playing them. Even if it was just house league or whatever, I just get out there, try my hardest, just have fun. And watching them, it's like a whole different game when I kind of started looking more into analytics and statistics and whatnot. It just again opened up so many other pathways and avenues and helped me be more, I guess, a smarter fan. And again, the way kind of my engineering, because I both have my undergrad and my master's that's in civil engineering from the University of Toronto. Again, melding my ability to again understand kind of more complex numbers, metrics, the math, the coding behind everything, and then combining it with my love of sports to create these graphics that I both find both kind of you mentioned visually appealing as also informative. So again, because in my mind, I'm using this stuff every day to kind of influence my decision making and kind of help me write my articles and my analysis. So I'm like, I may as well make it look good if I'm going to be using it all the time. And again, it seems like a lot of people like it as well. So I'm just very I guess glad the huge following I've kind of garnered, and there's always a bunch of support, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, and I'm curious from your perspective on it feels like advanced analytics has been kind of a, I don't want to say a hot topic over the last few years, but it feels like there still very much is kind of the are those baseball fans who are on kind of the old school side of things. They really only pay attention to like the slash line, the very basic stuff, or just simply like the eye test for a lot of things. And then there's kind of that other side of the really advanced analytics where you're looking at stuff like IVB and all these things that I think obviously for casual fans have no clue what those even mean or what they entail. And the old school people would say that the advanced analytics can be too much, and the advanced analytics people could say you're being too simple when you're looking at it from the old school sense of the game. So as someone who produces advanced analytics for TJ stats and whatnot, where do you kind of fall on, I guess, when you're watching the game and incorporating stats into your analysis, what is too little and what's too much?
Yeah, I kind of started TJ Stats to kind of make it, I guess, analytics more accessible for others. Again, making these graphics and whatnot, I'm starting to write more to kind of again explain what these analysts are trying to tell you, and they're basically saying what but again, these old school guys are saying, like these scouts, like if you someone says your fastball has a good amount of IVB, it just means it's like a high riding fastball, and it's like goes like a flat plane to the plate, and like it goes and batters just swing right under it. So it kind of ties them together. It's not like they're opposing each other's sides. They're kind of again supporting one another. And I know like many teams, they don't just go full scout or full analytics. They definitely blend the two. And I know there's definitely a handful of teams that have definitely analytic scouting analysts basically like they just have scouts watching videos reading parsing through the data like they're not going to games or whatnot but they're going through all this data and whatnot and then informing their decisions based off of it so it's again I don't think it's like one side versus the other they should be melded together and again it is a game after all if you're a fan you don't need to know these advanced analytics or whatnot but I do think having that knowledge makes you enjoy the game a bit more, and also understand, like, say, if a pitcher's struggling or a batter's struggling, what are they doing wrong? Or maybe finding that next breakout star or those prospects you want to kind of dive deeper into. Because again, there's always going to be those casual fans. They go to a game once in a while, they turn on the TV. They don't need to know too much about the game. But again, I try and make these analytics, at least that may people may seem that aren't too familiar with, maybe they think they're too advanced or they don't mean anything, and try and at least sway them in a direction where again they can help understand them, and they'll be a bit more appreciative of again the work that I guess and the pioneers of sabermetrics have done in the past, and again what currently MLB with again with Baseball Savant and all their great work.
Yeah, and I'm curious. It seems like a lot of your content seems to specialize in pitching data. We see a lot more pitching stuff from you than hitting stuff. So, is there kind of a reason why you've leaned more towards covering pitching than hitting?
With pitching, I guess when I first started, it was again like a mix of the two. But I guess once I started learning more about pitching and all these different advanced metrics, again, induced vertical break, horizontal break, and creating my own Stuff Plus model, TJ Stuff Plus, kind of again made me just fall in love with pitching. And again, when we see pitchers, we can get a lot of information in just one start. Again, they don't play every day. It's almost impossible. But we get a lot of information. I guess like Logan Evans is a good example. He just had his debut today. We can get a fair bit of information. Again, we had some starts in AAA. He was in the minors last season, but we can get a ton of data, actionable data, to kind of inform us of what we can expect in the future. And for hitters, it just takes a bit more time to go further and further. I just find pitching to be a bit more fascinating, especially when I was younger. I'd see some crazy pitches, just like the pitchers just dominate other guys. Like I remember Jose Fernandez, rest in peace, but like he would just go out there and just air through batters, and I'm like, this pitch like, and I see a pitcher dealing. It's like one of the like the coolest things in sports, basically.
I agree. I definitely lean much more towards pitchers as well. Like I would always rather see a no hitter or something than a cycle. Like I mean, obviously it's really nice to see like home runs in person, all that. It's really pops off and it's like super cool. But then to see a pitcher dominate, it's just something else. But you mentioned Logan Evans. He made his debut today. He went 5 innings pitched, only gave up a couple earned runs on 2 hits, 3 walks, but then also 3 strikeouts as well. So I'm going to flash up on the screen in the edit here your graphic that went on the TJStats Twitter showing Logan Evans chart for today. So can you kind of like go over like when I'm looking at this whole graphic, what am I looking at?
Yeah, when you're looking at the plot, I guess a lot of people just like to zoom in on that TJ Stuff Plus column. But I like looking at it and forming my decisions and my analysis, and looking at the stat line. Again, could just give us how he did during the game. Maybe he got lucky, unlucky. Who knows? He walked a bunch of guys. You can see that he walked 3 batters today, so his control wasn't too great. 4 whiffs, so he wasn't really generating too much there, especially against Miami. Miami is typically more of a whip happy team. And then we can go down again to that, I guess the next row, we have those 3 plots, his pitch locations versus lefties and righties. I like splitting them up. It also gives me a sense of kind of his pitch usage. We can see that against righties, he went heavy sinker, sweeper. The colors maybe, again, if there's a lot of colors, it's hard to tell. But I guess with righties, you can see sinker and sweeper there. And against lefties, curveball, fastball, changeup, and again he mixed in the cutter against both of them. So that's a pretty typical mix you would see a pitcher do. It just makes sense, and again, it seems like Logan Evans is doing that well. So again, I think that's a positive part of his game. And in the middle there, we have the pitch movement, and it also indicates his arm angle. This would be estimated until tomorrow because we don't get arm angle data until the next day at least. That might be a little longer, but anyways, what this plot shows us, the horizontal break is on the X and induced vertical break is on the vertical axis. So it's basically telling us how the pitch moves essentially only due to its spin. So we see things like their sweeper. The spin on the sweeper causes the ball to have a bunch of arm side run. And a cool thing with Evans' sweeper is that it's both has good velocity and it also has upwards of 20 inches of horizontal break, his glove side movement, which makes it a really good pitch. It's at least a plus offering. I'd say kind of teeters on plus plus. And we have his other pitches as well. We see his fastball, typically fastballs, changeups. Those will have more arm side run, so they're going to move, I guess, away from the pitcher, I guess, from really throwing it, and also kind of defy gravity, if you want to say that there. So it's dropping less than what typically gravity would see. And then you have the cutter, which is more localized in the center. So cutters typically have minimal arm side run. We see some that have, like Corbin Burns has a bit more, but traditional cutters kind of live in that middle zone. Not too, in Evans' case, I'd probably more call it a gyro slider, seeing that it has kind of minimal vertical separation, so it's spinning like a football. So instead of the pitch, again, the spin on the pitch isn't impacting its movement at all. We see pitchers like Spencer Strider, Jared Jones, they throw these crazy gyro sliders, typically up to 90 miles an hour. And they're some of the most effective pitches. In Logan Evans' case, it's more of an 86, 88 mile an hour pitch, still decent. And again, I like that horizontal movement is kind of sitting in that middle band there. It means that he can both use it against lefties and righties. Probably won't have too many issues against either handedness. And again, he has that curveball below his sweeper. So that's kind of that middle plot there. I was also kind of referencing some stuff from the table at the bottom. So the table at the bottom is the individual pitch metrics. So this will be, again, if you're kind of like a sicko and you're really into this pitch data, you'll get a bunch of information. And again, how many times they threw it, their usage. Again, just seeing that's self-explanatory. And then you have its velocity. Again, just how fast the pitches are going. I have a kind of a color coding for some of these. So if you see blue, typically means is below average, and yellow means above average. It gets like deep yellow if it's 30, like I think it's 30% above average. There's some number, I think it's about 30%. So in Logan Evans' case, again, that sweeper I mentioned, it's an above average velocity sweeper, and then in conjunction with kind of that horizontal movement, it grades out really well. Again, scouts love it. I know Fangraphs gave it a 70 grade. I gave it a 70 grade in my pitching prospect. My top 50, or I think I gave Evans an honorable mention. And then we have these other two columns, induced vertical break and horizontal break. So that kind of relates back to that middle plot there, kind of showing how the pitch moves, just spin. And then we have stuff like spin rate. Again, the rotations or revolutions per minute on the pitch. And there's vertical approach angle and horizontal approach angle. So that's just the angle the pitch makes while it passes the plane. Vertical approach angle is how the angle kind of how it approaches the plane with respect to the ground, essentially. And then horizontal would be with respect to kind of a wall, I guess, kind of again how it's entering the zone there. And then we have its vertical, the horizontal release height. So again, some more characteristics about his delivery, extension. That's how far down he gets down the mound. League average is around 6.5. Evans we're seeing is at 6 feet of extension. So that's below average. So again, we see extension typically higher is better, especially for fastballs. Again, because getting that extra few inches, even foot of distance down the mound, it increases the perceived velocity of a pitch. So instead, like we're seeing Logan Evans, say he had like 7 feet of extension instead of 6, his 93 mile an hour fastball might look like 94. And that kind of actually can play up and make it, again, a more effective offering. And then we have TJ Stuff Plus, and there's axis, that's just the spin axis of the ball. And then we have TJ Stuff Plus, and then the grade. So TJ Stuff Plus is my Stuff Plus model, so that just looks at the physical characteristics of the pitch. So basically everything, all the columns before it, except like axis and then the approach angles, because those are more location based, are included in TJ Stuff Plus. It's just a decision tree that kind of calculates the predicted value of a pitch. So in the Logan Evans case, he ended the day with 100, which means league average pitcher, essentially. And that's pretty good for a rookie. 23-year-old making his first start. I think there's definitely more avenues for him to grow, especially with that deep pitch mix. Sweeper, again, I mentioned, really great pitch, plus offering. Didn't get many whiffs today, but it did look like he was locating it decently well, low and away to righties. The sinker, I'd like to see him kind of keep them more inside to righties. Those are teaming it low is good, but again, inside typically jams them up, and then you can go sweeper to put them away. One thing I didn't like too much with Evans, and one thing that kind of been a bit cautious about him as a prospect is his changeup, or I guess his lack of changeup. It's very similar to a sinker. It doesn't have the greatest characteristics. If he can kind of separate his sinker from his changeup, at least movement wise, because right now they have very similar arm side movement, vertical drop. If he can get a bit more additional drop in that changeup, I think he could be a really effective pitcher against lefties. And one pitcher I would compare him directly to is Jonathan Cannon of the Chicago White Sox. I kind of looked at his plot. Logan Evans, again, I saw his pitch data in AAA, but thankfully they updated it to include his curveball now. Jonathan Cannon of the Chicago White Sox. Again, you may not know him too well, but again, I think he'll be a pretty solid back end starter for them. And Evans, especially what he showed today, pretty encouraging. Again, he induced a lot of weak contact. That's what he's been doing in AAA this year. I like to see him get those whiffs up. It may just be stuff's not there right now. I think last year he was able to hit closer to 94, 95 miles an hour. I think he was also working out of the bullpen a bit last season, so I could definitely see the velocity increase last year. But now I kind of want to see him scrap that fastball, the four-seam fastball. It just doesn't really have a great shape, and go more again more of that horizontal axis there, because I think probably won't strike out too many guys. I know Mariners fans they have Logan Gilbert, they have Brian Wu, they have these guys that can just strike out guys on command basically. But I think Logan Evans would definitely succeed with more of that kind of east-west approach, and I think he has again the sweeper and that cutter to really bridge everything together.
Yeah, and you obviously have to take a little bit into account, it's his MLB debut. There's probably a little bit of nerves there as well. That's maybe affecting a little bit of just not wouldn't say his effectiveness, but maybe his control a little bit as well with those 3 walks. But overall, I mean, really, you love the slash line when it comes to the debut itself. I mean, it's not like he gave up 6 runs or anything. It wasn't some really horrible debut. He kept him in the game. He got his first W, and we'll take that. To move on, you wrote a Substack article on April 7th for your top 50 pitching prospects. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, you had Logan Evans as an honorable mention. There was 2 Mariners prospects that were in the top 50 for you, starting with Ryan Sloan at 19, which is obviously pretty high praise for a guy who is only I think 18 years old. I don't know if he's 19 yet, but I mean, super young, huge frame. I think plays in a lot into that as well. He's already 6'4", 2 something. He's already built, which is just insane for that age. So, and then at 50, he had Durangelo Sanjay as well. So you can talk a little bit more just kind of about both of them, what you kind of expect from them going forward. Obviously, Sanjay is going to be a bit more advanced on the timeline wise. He's fresh out of college, with Sloan just being right out of high school. But where you kind of seeing them, if you're looking, let's say, like a crystal ball when they're making their major league debut, or even a couple years into that, how do you see them playing against MLB level bats?
Yeah, with Ryan Sloan, I'd say it's a pretty aggressive ranking given that he didn't pitch last year.
Yeah.
He didn't make his pro debut before I think maybe I released the article um, by the time, but he had maybe one start. But I did see his data during the spring breakout, and it was phenomenal. It was great. There was a huge praise for him throughout the spring. Scouts were saying it was he was the best pitching prospect they were seeing in the backfields of Arizona. And again, looking at that spring breakout data, he had a really good slider. I guess slider sweeper is a crazy breaking ball. I gave it a future grade of 70. It could maybe push 80, but again, I think 70 is already a fantastic grade to give it there. Huge frame you already mentioned. I think he just recently turned 19. Again, 6'4", 6'5", 220. Again, what are they feeding this kid? It's second round pick. The Mariners, again, it already feels like a win. A second round pick, already ranking in the top 100 on basically every list you're seeing right now. I know Baseball America was very aggressive with their ranking as well. Fastball is pretty good. Command, would seem to bode well for the future. The changeup, that is definitely a pitch that I didn't expect to see look so good from the data. It might be the best changeup in the Mariners system. I know they're not. I guess their pitching prospect depth isn't too, um, I guess, plentiful right now after graduating all their amazing pitchers in the majors right now. But Sloan, definitely keep an eye on him. He's one of my favorite, dominating right now in low A. If I see him, I gave him a 2028 ETA because it's always a bit trickier with these high school pitchers. We don't see them kind of climb too quickly. These are typically a bit cautious with them. But again, Sloan, probably out of all the high school pitchers drafted last year, might be the fastest moving one, might be the best one. Again, being a second round pick, and already seeing kind of his growth and his potential, it feels like Mariners fans should be really excited. And then for Durangelo, I'm not going to butcher his last name, so I'm just going to call him Durangelo. Uh, he's again, I put him at 50. He was going to be like an honorable mention, but then I saw some data on him, I think from his debut, and he's also kind of the weirdest pitcher ever. He's the switch pitcher, probably going to stick as a righty, but the data looked really good. Fantastic fastball. That's probably the crown of his arsenal. And he can throw lefties and righties. So I'm not sure if like what's going to happen when he makes his way up. Again, I think he's in high A right now. When he makes it a double A, triple A, if he's still going to be kind of that switch pitcher, maybe on occasion, especially if there's a batter that really struggles versus lefties. But again, his potential being a switch pitcher is crazy high. He's just also really cool. I hope he succeeds. Command, that probably will hinder him the most. But I think if that becomes a problem, sticking to again as a righty, I think he can again throw that high 90s, even hit 100 miles an hour, throw a pretty good slider, change that combo. But again, he's just super fun. I hope he does really well, and you're definitely going to see a bunch of highlights of this guy because you're going to see him strike out a guy from the left side of the plate and the right side, and then just crazy.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for both of them. Sloan in particular, like from the first time I kind of learned about him, because I mean, going into the draft last year, I didn't really know who at all you would target. I'm not a big prospect guy, but just kind of just reading up on him a little bit, you see the age, you see his height already stands out, and then he already has two pretty just like solid pitches, and just feeling like what a couldn't have went to a better org to develop not only those pitches but some others as well. And I foresee a huge future for him and really hoping he gets it. And at this point, I feel like the only thing you can that would really hinder that is health, if anything. So just gotta, I feel like don't try to rush him or anything like that. Just let him build up his arsenal, let him build up his stamina and get it going. And then with Durangelo, like I would be surprised if he reached the majors and was still a switch pitcher, probably. And like you said, probably be a bit more selective with when he does switch to lefty, if that is the case. Just because it's been already kind of, I know it's only been a few starts in Modesto's, so I mean, can't really like take a bunch, or sorry, Everett. You can't really take a bunch of, I guess, uh, conclusions, but it does seem like it's pretty obvious how much better he is from the right side thus far. So I feel like when he's already throwing high 90s at the right side and he's striking guys out pretty well from the right side too, it feels kind of like a no-brainer at some point to just really, instead of going for maybe less effectiveness, but hey, look at this. This is really cool. He can switch pitching. He can be a switch pitcher. Just go from the right side and just harness the absolute most potential you could possibly get out of him. So really excited to see how both of them end up, especially in a pitching development org like the Mariners. So to kind of end this out, just are there any other Mariners pitchers or players in general on the squad right now that are standing out to you as far as how they're performing, either in a good or bad way?
As if people follow me, I'm not too negative about guys, but I've been I guess made a bit more negative comments at Luis Castillo. I just don't think I think this probably the year, maybe his last good one. We're already seeing kind of like the cracks in the armor. And he's been so good for so long. Velocity's down, the stuff is down, strikeouts are down, the walks are up. So Castillo, again, I don't like. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. It's just I don't think he has much value again in a trade or whatnot for him. Again, being that with Kirby hurt, Gilbert hurt, Castillo is gonna kind of be that top three guy now. I just don't think he can handle that. But again, returning again that high threes ERA is definitely something you want to see. I think he could do that. It's just I'm not sure when it'll happen. Again, I'm just a bit pessimistic on Castillo. Again, I hope he does well. It just doesn't look like, or I guess he just doesn't look the same as last year or even the prior years. His last year, again, we kind of saw a steady decline, and this year seems like continuing. Um, More on the positive side, Matt Brash, he's in AAA right now. He looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see like slider, curveball, whatever. It looks great. Definitely give a big boost to the Mariners bullpen. He might be throwing a new changeup, maybe a kick changeup. It's got a 90 miles an hour, really good amount of depth on it. So Brash, definitely really good 1-2 punch at the back end there with Munoz. Cole Young, he's a AAA this year. Um, I know he's been praised like on basically every top 100 prospect. Contact rates are looking good, walking a lot, not striking out. The power, I guess he never really had too great of power, but he is kind of barreling the ball at an above average rate. But again, 21 years old, again, young for the level. Maybe he'll make his debut this season. But again, I like the contact. I like kind of the profile, kind of now being more aggressive at the plate because I don't think the power is really going to be above average. Just again, lifting the ball more because he's definitely the one that's closest up. There's Colt Emerson, Lazaro Montez, mountain of a man. I just he's in high A right now. He continues to destroy it. He should be in double A soon. They're walking him at an insane clip. He's like not striking out nearly as much as last season. So again, I just want to see him get to that next stage. The Mariners just have a bunch of prospects. You can just look at right now. Definitely some very young, but again, he has like young. Montes is also young, but I think he can maybe make his debut next season if again he continues on this trajectory. But with Brash, I think he'll be a really great addition. Again, he missed all of 2024, and he doesn't look like he missed a beat. Maybe the command won't be there to start, but again, he's one of like the most fun pitchers to watch. And Mariners fans, they're gonna have a blast watching it with Munoz in the back there.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to come back. It's looking like it's probably not the Angels series, but hopefully after that for maybe the next road trip. But yeah, I can't wait to watch him again and have a third high leverage arm because we really need it right now. I mean, Spire's great from the left hand side, and he's having a good year. And I think a lot of people are just worried about Brash as far as like, okay, well, he had Tommy John. Is he going to be the same guy? But it sounds like from you and just from what I've seen, stats wise, just it seems like he's pretty much been right on track with where we would want him to be. The velo's a little bit down, but like that's also kind of expected. As long as his movement and controls like fine, then cool. Excited to have him back. But thank you, Thomas. I appreciate you so much for stopping by. It's really nice to dive in a little bit to the analytical side of things, especially for this channel where I feel like I try to be a bit more still incorporate the analytics but also be a bit more casual friendly as well, and not feel like I'm just spouting off weird acronyms to people. So I appreciate you coming on and being able to kind of describe what your graphics are and what they mean, and hopefully that helps some fans get a bit more involved and a bit more informed into today's game. So appreciate you stopping by. Obviously all of Thomas's links are going to be in the description, so please check him out. I'd really appreciate that, and thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Once again, Thomas Nestico for coming on to Mariners Rundown. I appreciate it very much. I thought this interview was really insightful for me. Learned a little bit more about when I'm looking at his stuff, kind of what I'm looking at, basically. And, you know, when it comes to this channel, Raise the Trident in particular, as well as Mariners Rundown here, I really don't want to be too simple for the non-casual fans, but I also don't want to be too advanced for the casual fans. I try to find a kind of a happy medium here, and make it kind of just easily digestible. And thank you, Thomas, for explaining some of those things. So hopefully those analytics can be a bit more digestible for you as well. So last thing we're going to go over really quick is the next series coming up here. So we're going to have the off day today as you're listening to this on Monday, April 28th. On Tuesday and Wednesday, April 29th and 30th, we are going to be facing the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at home for a 2-game set. And then I think we have an off day after that and go on a 6-game road trip. We're going to start in Texas against the Rangers, and then we're going to get our first taste of Sacramento, yes, where the Athletics now play in the AAA ballpark for the Flying Squirrels, I think it is. No, not Flying Squirrels. The Sacramento River Cats, that's what it is. I had the wrong Giants affiliate in my mind. Right now, the Athletics play at Suter Health Park, which is home of the Giants AAA affiliate, the Sacramento River Cats. So yeah, we're going to be playing 3 games in a AAA stadium, and that's going to be very interesting to kind of get our first taste of what that looks like, because we'll obviously be playing a few more games there later on in the year. And then we come home for a 6-game homestand against the Toronto Blue Jays and then the New York Yankees. When we're looking at ESPN right now for their pitching probables for some of these series, which I will say is always kind of still to be determined. Obviously, teams can still switch some stuff around. Injuries happen, stuff like that. So this may not be true. But right now, for the 2 games against the Angels, it looks like we're going to be going up against Kachanowicz. Sorry if I said that wrong, but Kachanowicz and Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson's going to be tough a little bit, but, you know, hopefully we can get some runs off them. I would love to see a 2-game sweep of the Angels right now. They had a really hot start to the season, and they've cooled off pretty immensely right now. So hopefully we can get both of those games there. When it comes to Texas, we're going to be facing Jack Leiter, who is going to be called up, I think, recently, or I think he was on a rehab assignment, facing Patrick Corbin, who has not been a great pitcher for a little while now, and then Jacob deGrom again. So see if we can get more damage off of him once again for the, I believe, 3rd time in a row, but at least the 2nd time in a row. We hit him up pretty good earlier on in the season. And then when we're facing the Athletics, it looks like right now we're slated to face Luis Severino, who we faced on opening day, Jeffrey Springs, who we also faced on game 2 of the year, and then Osvaldo Bido right now. So we'll see if any of those changes, but that's what the pitching probables are looking like for these next couple series here. But that's going to be it for me in this episode of Mariners Rundown. I really appreciate you stopping by. Once again, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow the show and leave a 5-star review. It helps me out a lot. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave a like. And if you like the channel enough, you can become a member for only a couple dollars a month to get some exclusive content. I would really appreciate that as well. But that's going to be it for me in this one, and I will see you in the next.